Hello everybody. This is a bit of a different video for me because normally I just do tutorials, but I figured it's time for me to share a little bit more about me. I do this in like my Instagram stories, which is easy because they disappear after 24 hours, but this video I will be able to look back at and cringe at it for the rest of time. So that's something to look forward to. So my name is Andrea. I started crocheting 4 years ago in 2020 because of COVID. I had previously crocheted in grade 8 for like 3 weeks. And that's my previous crochet experience. But I was sitting there bored like we all were, and I decided to pick it up, and I haven't stopped since. I'm very entrepreneurial by nature, and so I was thinking, like, how can I turn this into a business? And one of the first things I made was dog hats. And I remember putting it on my story and someone being like, oh, can I buy one? And literally that's all you got to tell me. And I'm like, I have a business. And so I started making a lot of dog hats, and that was a whole thing. That was the early stages of like my crochet business. So Fiber Collective wasn't always Fiber Collective. It started as Granny, then evolved into Quilt, and now it's Fiber Collective. And now it's content focused. But the whole trajectory, I actually started trying to sell product, and I didn't love that. I felt like pricing it was really just like uncomfortable. You encounter people that are super understanding of the reason like a handmade product is more expensive than a non-handmade product. But then there's more people being like, oh, like that's too much, that's expensive. And it's like, you can't really cut back the time that it takes you to make a product. You just can't if you're hand making it. And depending on your skill at the time, it might take you longer than another crocheter. But the point is that you can't really cut back on that time. And then also materials. I can't go to the yarn store and ask for a discount. Like, it just is what it is. And so I didn't really love the process of selling product. Then came my phase of like, okay, I'm going to do markets. I'm going to make, smaller items and then bring them to a market and see how that goes. Absolutely hated it. I couldn't do it. I felt super defeated after like spending there all day. Also, you have to pay for these tables, like for you to have, access to it and just be there. And that's expensive. And then, I don't know, you just sit there and people come, grab your stuff, leave. I didn't like it. It didn't really resonate with me. So I had to pivot, and then that's when I started doing more content. And I started to realize, like, I like this. I like this quite a bit. I would say I started really focusing on content last year in like April or May 2023. And I started doing funny reels and more like kind of quick, funny little videos. But that's when I realized, like, I really enjoy making a video. I enjoy making content. At the end of the year, I guess I was thinking about how to grow a YouTube channel. I didn't really have anything. And so I started doing tutorials. And then my partner gave me the idea of what if you, make X amount of videos in a year. And I landed on 500. And that was really silly. I could have said 365. Because there's 365 days in the year. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm making 500 crochet tutorials on stitches. The title is 500 stitches. However, there are stitches, motifs, and edging. That is kind of what I'm up to right now. And I am really grateful that I am doing this because it's teaching me a lot about teaching and kind of opening up what feels like the next phase of the business, which is going to be, more tutorials, but then also perhaps a paid online course and things like that. I feel like that's kind of where I'm headed towards, whether it's just tutorials for YouTube or actually some more like personalized, in-depth teaching. Lessons learned throughout all this time are, honestly keeping on going. Like, it is very vulnerable to do things like these, to put yourself out there. It's uncomfortable. At the beginning, nobody even watches it, so it's even more uncomfortable. You just sit there and like the people that know you are seeing that you're getting like 10 views and you feel pretty awkward. But it takes a lot of courage to do this kind of thing. And so that's one of the things that I am grateful that I could push through. The consistency, I feel like you need to be a really stubborn person in a good way to push through those challenges like that. At the end of the day, I never really knew what I wanted to do. And one thing has remained true since I made my first couple of crochet projects is that this is it for me. Like, I absolutely love crocheting. I don't think it's going anywhere. In fact, I just want to learn more, do more. Like, I have all these designs in my mind that I want to do. I just need more time. I never understood the whole concept of like do what you love or like follow your passion or this and that. And now I can actually speak for it. And that's really cool. It's not easy. Nothing's easy. Like if you work a job, if you try and like get promoted and go down that path, it's not easy. And if you open your own business and try and do that, it's not easy. But at the end of the day, like you just got to pick, pick your hard, because every single path in life is going to be hard. And it's kind of just a matter of making that decision for yourself. What is going to get you to wake up in the morning and actually want to live your day, and be like, that's awesome. I can't wait to do today. And it's not always like that. Like today, actually, I had a day where I was all groggy and tired. But the point is that you just keep on going. Even the days that you don't want to do it, you just do it. You kind of have to do it. You don't do it at your best, but you just get it done. So a little bit about me. I was born and raised in El Salvador. I moved to Canada back when I was 17 to go to school. I've been in Canada a total of 10 years. I had a gap in between. I came to go to school. I did altogether a program in business and one in fashion marketing. And at the time I was like, I don't really know what I want to do with this. I have no idea. And looking back, I think it makes sense. In terms of jobs, my career path has been all over the place, but a big one is that I've been in the restaurant industry for many years. In terms of more like serious adult jobs, I have had very random jobs. Never knew what I wanted to do with my life. I literally had a few different jobs, and I never could tell you like firmly, this is what I love, this is what I want to do. I had a lot of friends that had that, and I was kind of envious of them because I, was in my late 20s still being like, I literally cannot tell you what I'm completely passionate about or even what I want to do for a career. I couldn't tell you. It was kind of like at one point I thought it was marketing, at another point it wasn't. And so I was always kind of confused when it came to my career. And then I worked at a pretty big company. But at the time, tech was going through a lot of change and a lot of big companies were doing layoffs. And I survived the layoffs, but it was just really weird in the company. And I kept trying and trying to grow within it. And I kept applying to jobs and I kept doing like extra free work because I really wanted to prove myself. And I just did everything in my power to just kind of like be better and at a better place. And every single door kept shutting and nothing was actually kind of like creating results. So it took me a while. It took me like 3 to 4 months to decide to quit. And during that time, I made a plan. I made a plan to make sure I use every single one of my benefits, every single minute of my vacation or my time off, every single perk that I had from the company. I just made sure that I used it all. And during that time, I actually went back to serving to kind of test it out part-time to see if I could do that before I actually quit. And then it resulted that I actually was like, yeah, I'm so over this. I was waking up so depressed every day. Like I genuinely went through a lot of mental health stuff because I was so unmotivated. I was unmotivated, I was unhappy, and I was just waking up to do something for 8 hours that I absolutely hated. And I hated that. I did it for, like, I wouldn't say a solid year. And I was like, something's got to change. And unfortunately, a lot of things are out of my hands in this company. And I kept applying to other companies and nothing was happening. That I was like, I know I can go back to a restaurant. It's not going to be easy. It's definitely not going to be like, if you think about it, it felt like a downgrade at the time. But I am so glad I did that, because if I hadn't, I wouldn't have put all this work towards my business, which it has grown quite a bit since I made that decision. So I feel like from that experience, I learned that if you are surrounding yourself with negative energy, I feel like you just attract that. So when I moved out of it and I let myself be exposed to like more opportunity, I kind of took those risks of like, I'm just going to go chase it because why not? What do I have to lose? So yeah, I am currently working on Fibra. I am not a crazy, humongous influencer or anything like that, but I've definitely seen a lot more growth this year than I ever have. And it's just really exciting to see where I am going next. And I guess what I want to say is thank you so much for being here. I think I'm going to start making more lifestyle videos down the line so you can actually get to know me a little bit better. I think I'm pretty fun. kind of funny sometimes. I obviously want to focus on tutorials, but I also would like for you to know a little bit more about me. So if you don't follow me on Instagram already, I definitely post a lot more stuff there, a lot more stories, some polls about, you know, finding out what you guys want to see next in terms of tutorials. So definitely make sure you follow me on Instagram at fibra.collective. That's it. We'll see, and fingers crossed this video is not cringy in 5 years from now.